Okay, hi there. I decided that I would do only 10 minutes maximum, 10 minutes, 10-minute video this time because, yeah, yeah, whatever reason I decided that. And so we'll just see what I can get out of it. As I said, I think it's a really good exercise. I'm just thinking what I should talk about. And yeah. One idea that entered my mind that I'm not sure if I mentioned it last time but I guess I mentioned about reading history, the books back and forth and again. I think I did, but I don't think I mentioned. That's something that occurred to me later on that I perhaps should consider just go more straightforward for what I've been talking earlier on about the central ideas in academic disciplines, and instead of that passive sort of thing. And by the way, a side note, or an equally important thing actually, that I last time I think I mentioned something like that. Evaluating this process about history and how I do it could in itself be considered to be somewhat overanalyzing and not just spending time doing it. And that's true. It's also true that I've decided that these 10 minutes are exactly what I should do. And it could be wrong, but I don't think so. I think it's a really fruitful exercise. But again, analyzing how I am studying is more difficult. But I also think that if I have the goal in mind as good as possible, then it's probably the right thing to do. And that's one of the issues, because I had a thought exercise in relation to these sort of like what I was about to explain earlier, was that just take perhaps 10 minutes or 1 hour and just try to get the most essential themes, and or perhaps 1 hour for a week and just try to take out 10 to 20 ideas from all these books, the most important ones, sort of, or perhaps 3 for every book or something like that. But maybe that's too much. I don't know. One of the take I had on it was that the summarizing book, Lessons of History, which is just a book 100 pages compared to the 10,000 pages almost of all the other books, that I just should focus on that one. I've read it quite recently, and just take the key ideas from that book, and just so that I have 10 or 20 key ideas that I try to think over again and again and again about, so that I don't have a lot of sort of unprocessed, I read a lot, it's unprocessed and not related, and not, it's for sure a molding process, and that's one of the arguments against that sort of Munger approach, even if it's perhaps not necessarily against, but it's a different view to some degree. And so and one way in doing that is just deciding to how should I put this? I was about to say something in relation to that Lessons of History book and the key ideas, that well, I guess it was just it's really about marginal utility and getting this wisdom list, or sorry, I have a earlier wisdom checklist sort of that Munger advised one to have, and he always talking about having knowledge to action-based fluency and understanding how things fits together, and just focusing on the central key ideas and and yeah, anyway, I think that that's one good thing to do. But another question is, how much should I do that in relation to just simply doing what I've already been doing, this sort of process and going book after book, deeper and deeper? And I think the answer to that is I should not, when I have these two approaches, I just might go directly into implementing that. But as well as the approach of taking 10 or 20 key ideas. I can do both as long as I don't lose the momentum of doing this repetitive, going deeper and deeper in every book and so forth, and encounter every book, so to speak, every day for at least 7 days or something like that. So yeah, I think that's a good plan. And one side note more before finishing this. It is interesting. Tai Lopez that I mentioned talked about KSE, knowledge, strategy, execution, and most people jump the middle one. They have knowledge and they just execute on that knowledge instead of making up a strategy. And in some sense that would be, because I actually like strategy quite a lot, it's just that I'm not always executing or sticking to it because I might doubt it or something, because strategy is really, you lay something out, and in some sense, if you start to doubt the strategy, then you get off it, and that's sort of an issue of mine. I usually lay out strategies, like for example, I had a strategy that I thought was and when reading history, and I've had several strategies, and I've questioned them, and now I'm into new approaches, and in some sense, it feels as failures to not continuing doing those things. And on some level, I don't know really what is the right approach. I'm testing and experimenting with new ones right now. And the issue here for me is, do I overanalyze it, or is it actually good to evaluate in this sense? Is it just overanalyzing, or is it constructive or analysis that leads somewhere? And ultimately, I actually think, that's interesting. What do you think about that? I have 1 minute to contemplate an answer now. Is it a good thing to analyze this, or should I just jump into work? Obviously, there's a different time for different things, and you have to do both. And I guess that's the end thing here. Being aware of what you do with your day and execute on that. And don't be overly worried. Don't associate analysis with overanalysis. Is only if you lose your attitude in doing it, and if you lose sight on the goal. And I think I'm quite good at that. Actually sticking to the goal. Anyway, bye bye. Now it's in 10 minutes.